Namaskar, Namaskar everyone. Today we have the 19th webinar on library professional series of the webinar, and this morning we are very happy and glad because we have very young, dynamic, and informative speaker with us, Dr. Neeraj Kumar Singh. So, dear friends, I know we are getting a lot of knowledge, lot of practical knowledge, in fact, with the help of the Neeraj today. So today program moderator is Madam Lalita Dhir. She is the regional coordinator of Chandigarh region. So I welcome ma'am, and we do have Dr. Malviya with us. Dr. Ramanand Malviya is the president of Library Professional Association. So I'm not coming in between. As usual, we do have few announcements which I did in the last many webinar. So if there is some technical glitch, so I am first of all sorry for that. It will take hardly 1 or 2 minute time to resume all of us. And yes, of course, for certificate, you people have the lot of queries. So we don't have any feedback mechanism for certificate. We appreciate prior registration as well as there's the 50 rupee charges for the certificate handling charges. So these are the two things which we follow. And apart from that, I just give bit introduction of the Library Professional Association. Then I call Dr. Malviya for the setting the theme for today. So I just go through it. So Library Professional Association, as you know, this is a non-profit or professional body founded for scientific, literary, and educational purposes, and dedicated to the creation, organization, dissemination, and application of knowledge concerning information and its transfer. This association is a group of people who work in the different organizations and come together at one platform to work for our profession and professional development. So on behalf of Library Professional Association, I welcome all the professionals to come forward, join Library Professional Association, and give your best effort to develop this profession. So I welcome Madam Lalita Dhir, Regional Coordinator, Chandigarh region, to take forward this program of today's webinar. Over to you, Lalita ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Anand, for the kind words. Good afternoon, one and all. I, Lalita Dhir, Regional Coordinator from Chandigarh of Library Professional Association, New Delhi, welcomes each and everyone from my core of heart. We feel proud of you all when you all attend these webinars, and it encourages us to hold more webinars, and it motivates us in turn. And now I welcome Dr. R.N. Malviya ji to say few words about the LPA and the theme of this webinar. Dr. Malviya ji is President of Library Professional Association, New Delhi. Thank you. And now, over. Yes, sir.
Hello. Good afternoon to everyone. I, Dr. Ramanand Malviya, President, Library Professionals Association, welcome you all on this online webinar on evaluation of
Hello. I request someone is on his laptop with the speaker. So please mute themselves. Who they are, I don't know, but they have to mute because that voice is interfering in the program. Sir, please go ahead, sir. I'll do it, sir, something.
1 minute.
Those who are login with the two system, just switch off the mic of one system so that voice is not interfering in between.
1 minute, Anand, 1 minute.
Not an issue, sir, not an issue.
बस लाइट का प्रॉब्लम आ गया है थोड़ा सा.
Okay. Not an issue.
Just it will take 1 minute only.
Yes, sir. You can resume, sir, anytime. So meanwhile, I just say a few words. Okay, how to join how to take the Library Professional Association membership. So you have to visit our website, www.lpaindia.in. There is the members title of over there is the members, and within the members you get the membership form. So you download the form from there and you fill the form, send me the screenshot or mail on the respective mail. This time we are offering 10% discount for the membership. So previously it is rupees 2,000 rupees the membership charges. So now it is 1,800. And as a members of the society, you will get all webinars free certificate and all, and certainly handsome amount of discount you will get in the all our future program. It is international conference which we are conducting. It's called ICOL, Knowledge Organization and Libraries Academies. So it's a wonderful program. We are every year we conducting in the very prestigious University of India. So I request each and everyone, you have to take the membership of the professional bodies and you will get all the latest information for that, and as well as you have to give your contribution towards the professional development.
Hello.
Yeah, Dr.
Yes,
Sir.
Anand.
Yeah, please continue, sir.
Good afternoon to everyone. I, Dr. Ramanand Malviya, President, Library Professionals Association, New Delhi, welcome you all on this online webinar on writing and publishing high impact research manuscript. Is organized by Library Professionals Association, New Delhi. Today we have a very sad news with the deep grief, and I want to inform about sudden demise of Dr. H.K. Kaul on 1st July 2020. It is a heartbreaking news. We have lost a close library professional friend, Dr. H.K. Kaul. He was one of India's most revered library icon and equally known as international arena for his contribution. Dr. H.K. Kaul was a prolific writer, author of several books, speaker, a poet of several books, speaker, a poet who set up Poetry Society of India in New Delhi. He served on several Government of India committees. He was founder of Delnet and long-time librarian of India International Center, New Delhi. He was very active out of his entire life. He was an institution in himself and he built institutions. I saw him a very dedicated professional and innovative librarian who was always dedicated for development of libraries and library services in country. May his soul rest in peace. We sincerely pay our tribute to Dr. H.K. Kaul. It is a great loss. He will always be remembered and be alive in the hearts of thousands of librarians in the country. I would request you all to keep 1 minute silence in memory of Dr. H.K. Kaul, please.
Yes.
Hello. Yes. Now, welcome you all on this online webinar on writing and publishing high impact research manuscript. is organized by Library Professionals Association, New Delhi. The speaker of today's webinar is Dr. Neeraj Kumar Singh, Deputy Librarian, Punjab University, Chandigarh. The moderator of this webinar is Mrs. Lalita Dheer, LPA, Regional Coordinator, Chandigarh. This topic is very important for our researchers, library professionals, teachers, and academicians. The lack of technical and writing skills, institutional problems, and time constraints are considered as major problem for any scientific research publication. The publication of original research in peer-reviewed and index journal is ultimate and most important step toward the recognition of any scientific quality research work. However, the process starts long before the write-up of manuscript. The journal in which the author wishes to publish his or her work should be chosen at the time of conceptualization of research and scientific work based on the expected leadership. The journals to provide information on the scope of the journal, which specific the scientific areas relevant for publication in journal, and instruction to authors which need to be stick to while preparing a manuscript. Peer-reviewed publications are one of the key metrics that reviewers of the grant applications use in assessing the qualification and expertise of the research team for the proposed work. Increasingly, it is a quality and impact, not the quantity of those contributions that matters most. Our experience is that obstacles encountered in the getting organized to prepare a manuscript and in manuscript preparation, submission, review, and resubmission often dissuade potential authors from the completing these tasks. Library Professional Association welcomes Dr. Neeraj Kumar Singh for accepting our request and sparing his valuable time. This webinar has drawn very wide, overwhelming response, both in the terms of participation and selection of subject. It is current need and importance for the teachers, library professionals, students, and researchers. I request Mrs. Lalita Dheer, Regional Coordinator, Library Professionals Association, Chandigarh, to proceed. Over to Mrs. Lalita Dheer.
Thank you, sir. I welcome Dr. Neeraj Kumar Singh from my core of heart, today's eminent speaker and great personality. Neeraj Singh is Deputy Librarian in Punjab University, Chandigarh. In his educational credits, he is MSc Chemistry and PhD from Punjab University in the Library Science. He has also done international course in ICT recognized by British Computer Society, UK. He has been awarded the prestigious Commonwealth Professional Fellowship in 2017 and 2012 at University of East London, UK. He has also received Best Services Award presented by Vice Chancellor Punjab University in 2009 and awarded from Vice Chancellor Punjab University on the Republic Day ceremony in 2011. He has contributed more than 40 research papers in the international and national journals and which are peer-reviewed journals and authored a book. He has prepared and presented one module on reference management software in online MOOC course in the research methodology prepared by G. Just Hisar, and it is available through SWAM, Ministry of Health and Research Development portal. He is also teaching PGD LAN course, Bachelor of Library and Information Sciences courses at University School of Open Learning at Punjab University. He is also counselor of IGNOU Regional Center at Punjab University, Chandigarh. He has been achieved so many awards and other things which I am giving in short. He is also resource person in various national workshops, conferences, training programs organized by various institutes like GC Academics, Punjab University, SPD, Rusa Bird, NLI Chandigarh, Kurukshetra University, etc. With this brief introduction, I hand over the session to Dr. Neeraj Kumar Singh, and I hope everybody will learn from this webinar. And again, I congratulate to my participants and the speaker and the president of this LPA and the general secretary of LPA and those who are not spoken, and we all are appreciated. Thank you, sir. And now
Thank
I
you.
welcome.
Thank you, Lalita ji.
Kumar.
Sorry to interrupt in between. I request moderator of the day, Lalita ji, and Neeraj ji, is our esteemed speaker for today. If you allow me 2 minute time, then I must welcome Dr. N. Lakshman Rao, and I want his few words regarding the professional development, because he has the very vast experience of this profession. So he must guide us. So if you allow me, then I can welcome sir and listen few words from him.
Sure,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, sir. So yeah, Professor N. Lakshman Rao, he's the president of Telangana Library Association, and he was UGC Emirates Fellow, Department of Library and Information Science, formerly Director, UGC Academic Staff College of Osmania University, Hyderabad. So this is the very little bit about the introduction of the Dr. N. Lakshman Rao. He's the very big personality in the field of library and information science. So I request Dr. Rao, please come and say a few words toward our professional development and give a blessing to us. Dr. Rao, please. Dr. Rao. Dr. Rao, I hope you are unmuted yourself. Okay. I don't think I will connect with him. So after the Neeraj session, I will take his blessing definitely. So I request Neeraj, please go ahead and take your session forward.
Thank you, Anand ji. First thing, am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very much.
Okay. So thank you very much, Dr. Anand. And before I will start taking the session on today's topic, writing and publishing scholarly manuscript, let me thank Library Professional Association and my special thanks to Dr. Malviya ji, Dr. Salek Chand ji, Anand ji, and Lalita ma'am for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to be a keynote speaker for series of webinar which is being basically conducted by Library Professional Association. So one thing, there is two requests which I wanted to let you know. First request, I wanted to tell you to the participants that if you have any query related to my presentation, so whatever query you are having, you just type all the queries in the chat box, and once my lecture will be over, then I will try to give answer to each and every query. And one request I wanted to make to the moderator, that if you feel that due to some internet connectivity, there is a problem with my voice or my screen is not visible, you please let me know so that I can stop my presentation at that moment, fix the problem and go ahead. Okay, so now I am sharing a screen with all of you so that you can see the presentation which I am going to make today. Just a second. Okay, so my screen is visible.
Ji, sir.
Okay. So very good afternoon to all of you. Today I am going to speak on the topic writing and publishing high impact research manuscript. So talking about the outline of my presentation, these are the things which I am going to cover in my today's talk. So first I will discuss with you in very brief what is basically a scientific journal and what is India's overall contribution in the scientific publication throughout the world. Then I will discuss with you what is the process of publishing an article in Impact Factor Journal or Scopus Index Journal. So here I will explain you each and every step through which you can publish your research paper in a Impact Factor journals. And once you submit your paper for publication in any quality or impact factor journal, your paper is basically evaluated through a peer review process. So as I am associated with topmost publisher in the field of LIS as a reviewer, I can also share my experience that when you submit research paper for publication in any quality journals, so being a reviewer of that particular journal, what criterias or on which criterias generally we evaluate your article. So I will discuss with you each and every criteria through which any reviewer they give their acceptance or rejection for any research paper. And the next thing is once you publish your research paper with any journal, the next and very much important step is you have to share and promote your research. And there are many findings conducted by the research scholar worldwide, and it has been proven that visibility and impact of your research paper increases if you are sharing and promoting your research work. And to measure the impact of your research work, there are many level metrics are available. We call as author level metrics, journal level metrics, alt metrics. So I'm not going to discuss each and every metrics, but here I just wanted to cover one of the two most common metrics through which any author they can measure the impact of research paper they have published in any journal. Now, the first is basically a scientific journal. So when we talk about the scientific journal, it's nothing but it's a platform which is developed by a publisher or association where the research scholars they can share their research findings amongst the peer group across the world. And we trace back the history of scientific journals. From this slide you can see the first French journal named Des Esquivans and the first English journal which name is Philosophical Transaction of the Royal Society. These two journals are considered as the first journals which were published in the year 1665. And since then, there is a huge number of increase we have seen as far as scientific publisher and as well as scientific journals are concerned. So being a library science professional, we all know that there is only one source which gives authentic information about the publishing of any journal or details of any journal, which is known as Ulrich International Periodical Directory. Now this directory is available online, and as per this directory, there are more than 246,000 journals are available in the year 2019. And let me tell you one more thing. There was one study conducted by Outshell in the year 2017, which has estimated the total revenue of publishing industry. And you can see from this slide also that he has estimated a total size of global STM market in 2017 is 25.7 billion. So you can see this publishing industry is a huge industry which are making a huge amount of money while publishing your research paper free of cost. Now, talking about where India is standing as far as publishing scientific articles are concerned. So from this slide, you can see there is a data which is compiled by US National Scientific Foundation. And the same study was published in India Today, as well as the same study is also available at the Press Trust of India website. And it was made available on January 2, 2020. And here you can see that this study has reported that China is leading from the front with a global share of 20.67% and a total paper of 5,28,263, followed by USA, which is having global share of 16.54. Here you can see that India is standing at the third position, and India has published till now 135,788 papers with a global share of 1.31%. So these are some of the key highlights of this study, which I just wanted to discuss with you. And as for this study, you can see that the total number of scientific papers published worldwide increased from 17,55,850 in 2008 to 25,55,959 in 2018. So here you can see between 2008 and 18, science and engineering articles from India grew at an average annual rate of nearly 11%. And in 2018, India encountered for 5.31% of global share as compared to 2% in 2018. So you can see there is a rise of 3% annual average growth as far as publishing scientific articles are concerned. But there is another study which is published on Economic Times, and I have shared the link with you also. It has reported that Indian research quality lacks quantity. Means for Indian quantitative increase is good news, but what matters most is impact. And being a library professional, we all know how to measure the impact of any scientific articles. And one of the most important criteria is we measure the impact of any scientific publication in the terms of citation. And here you can see the total research output of India has only received 1% of global citation. And when you compare this citation with USA and other European countries, we are very far behind with these with these countries. So there is another study which was reported by the Elsevier. It says that high impact journal accept less than 10% of the articles submitted to them. That means whatever research articles research scholars across the world are submitting for the publication in impact factor journals, 90% of them are being rejected. Now the question is how we can publish our research paper in a Scopus Index journal or an impact factor journal in our discipline. Now, before going to the presentation, let me share you one thing that recently I have published one research article, and the title was Near Field Communication. And from this slide, you can see that this article is published in Technology and Library Journal. You can see here that last month, see the details of this journal in Scopus. You can see that this journal is almost 50-year-old journal, and this journal is basically published by American Library Association. And when we talk about the indexing of all the articles in the Scopus database, you can see since its first issue, which journal has published in 1971 to 2020, all Scopus is indexing. So in this way, it is showing that this journal is a quite old journal, and this journal is a quality journals in the field of library science, which is basically indexed by the Scopus database. Now, generally, as we know that whenever we have to evaluate any journal, there are only one criteria, that is called impact factor of the journal. But the Elsevier, they are developed their own criteria, which is known as Scopus Journal Ranking or CITE score. So when we see the CITE score of this journal, it is having 1.12 CITE score. Now, when you compare this CITE score with any science journal, which is having more than 50 or 60 CITE score, you can see that this journal is having a very low CITE score as compared to science journal. But to compare this journal with all the other social science journals, what I did is I just searched all the social science related journals indexed by the Scopus database. And from this slide, you can see that there are 312 journals in the field of social sciences, which Scopus has indexed. And from this slide, if it is visible to you can see the highest number of site score in the field of social science is only having 5.65. So what I am trying to say here is social science journals, they are having less impact factor or less site score as compared to sciences. And when you compare this journal in the discipline of social science, you can say that this journal is having a good site score, and it is also having an impact factor, nearly a 1 impact factor when you check this journal in a journal citation report. So far I have published 11 articles which are indexed by the Scopus journals, and these are some other details which you can check through Scopus. So here, whatever I am trying to explain with you about publishing your research paper in a Scopus index journal is not theoretical. So whatever I am discussing with you, it's all about the knowledge and the experience which I have gained while publishing my research paper in these quality journals. Now, here we have not discussed about what is impact factor. We have discussed about the impact factor. Now, the question is, what is basically impact factor? So since 1960, the impact factor is probably the most well-known metric for assessing journal performance. And as we all know, that this concept was given by Eugene Garfield, who was also founder of Institute of Scientific Information, which was earlier situated at Philadelphia. Now, let me explain with you how basically they calculate the impact factor of any journal. Now, in this example, I just wanted to show you how the impact factor of journal X is calculated for the year 2017. So here you can see that this is the simplest calculation for calculating the impact factor of any journal. For example, if I am calculating the impact factor of journal X for the year 2017, so what I have to do is, first I have to find out how many articles is published in this journal in 2015 and in 2016. So here I am taking a 2-year window for the calculation. So what you have to do is you just find out the total number of articles published in journal X in the year 2015, and you just add the total number of articles published in 2016. So here in this example, in 2015, this journal has published 46 articles, and 2016, this journal has published 50 articles. So when you combine, when you add 46 with 50, so the total number is 96. Now again, what you have to find out is how many citations all the articles has received in the year 2015. So here you can see that this journal has received a total of 109 articles for its 46 published journal. And in the year 2016, this journal has received a total of 105 citation for all the articles published in 2016. So you just add the number of citation in 2015 and 16, and you just divide the total number of citations received by this journal in the last 2 years divided by the total number of articles published by this journal in last 2 years. So whatever will be the number is basically an impact factor of this particular journal. So this is the simplest way of calculating the impact factor of any journal. And let me tell you, there is only one source in the world which give you the authentic and accurate information of impact factor of any journal, which is known as Journal Citation Report, which is now a product of Clarivate Analytics. Earlier, it was known as Thomson Reuters. Now, discussing about what is basically a process of publishing an article in a quality journals. So these are the basically step or process through which you can write your research paper and through which you can publish your research paper in a good impact factor or a Scopus index journal. So first thing is write your research paper, find a suitable journal, prepare your paper, submit and revise, sharing and promoting. Now let me explain you all these 5 steps one by one so that you will have a better understanding about how we can write a good research paper and how we can publish our research paper in a good journal. Now, the first and very much important thing is you have to select the topic in which you wanted to write a research paper. And let me tell you, you always select the topic in which you have an interest. So once you have decided the topic for your research paper, the next thing is search and research the literature, which we generally known as literature search. And I always recommend the young research scholar that do not research the research article or Google or any journal search engine. So if your library is having access of Web of Science or Scopus, always search your article on your area in these two databases, and you can also search the literature which are available through Google Scholar. But in many universities, due to the financial problem, they don't have access of Web of Science or Scopus. So in this case, I will tell you there are many good quality open access indexing databases are available, which will provide you the access of quality literature on your topic. So one database is known as Oyster. So you simply Google this Oyster and it will take you to the home page of this website. And let me tell you, this Oyster contains millions of records harvested from open access. You will find access of open access content of quality articles which are published in topmost journals. And you can not only access the journal article, you can also access the thesis, research paper, and other digital items available or indexed by these databases. Now the question is, why we do the search and literature search part while writing the paper? This literature search will summarize you about the literature, what literature other research is published and which are available in different publishers platform. So it will give you the list of article research paper published by some other research scholar in your and it also provide you the foundation knowledge of your topic. And one of the most important thing why we conduct the literature review is we identify the gaps. So if you identify the gap in the area in which you wanted to write a research paper, it will always help you to justify your research. So in this way, you can justify to the publisher, you can justify to the editor why you have selected this research topic for writing a research paper. Now, one another database which will provide you the open access contents to the quality material is Bayes. It's called Bayfield Academic Search Engine, and it's an open access database. So simply you just type Bayes and it will take you to the home page. And from here also you can find the open access content published in scholarly article. And similar to Google Scholar, Microsoft, they have also created their open indexing database, which is known as Microsoft Academic Search. So simply Google this Microsoft Academic Search, and here you can see this is the homepage of this database, and there are millions articles are available which you can access while sitting at your home also. So these Oyster, Bayes, Microsoft Academic, Crossref, there are many databases which will help you in terms of searching and in terms of accessing the open access contents available or published worldwide. Now, once you have decided the topic, once you have done the literature review of your research paper, the first part of your research manuscript is the introduction. Let me tell you, your introduction should not be a history lesson, and it should be a maximum half page or 1 page. So this is, the screenshot of one of the research articles published in the Scopus Index Journal. And here you can see that this author has written the introduction in only 2 paragraphs. So what are the things which you have to incorporate while writing your introduction is, introduction is basically initial part of your research paper and the part that reader is likely to read first. So the question is why we generally write introduction of your research paper. The answer is, in this way, we introduce the topic to the reader. For example, if I am writing a research paper on RFID, the first thing I have to do is I have to tell my reader that what is the meaning of RFID, what is the purpose of having RFID, and what is the importance of having RFID not only in supply chain but also in the libraries. So while writing introduction, what you can do is you can take some definition from some authentic sources, you can write some notions, you can write some important information required for understanding the paper. So here you can introduce your topic, you can create some context and background, you can tell your reader about the research you are planning to do, and in this way you can also state your rationale and explain why you are doing or why you are writing research paper on this area. Let me just a second. Okay. Now, in your introduction part, what you can do is you can write the objectives and hypotheses, right? And while writing objectives and hypotheses in your introduction part, what you have to keep in mind is that there should be one main aim or objective of your research and not more than 5 or 6 underlying objectives. So if there are too many objectives for your research paper, there are fair chances of data overload and data mismanagement, making the study goes vague and ambiguous. So why we write objectives or hypotheses in our research paper? Because we give direction to the paper and help to avoid any other diversion from the paper. And this research objective basically minimize wastage of resources, and objectives easily ease the understanding of the research by the target audience. So if you are writing a clear-cut 4 or 5 objectives of your paper, that will give a direction to the reader in which area or in which topic or under which subtopic you are basically writing your research paper. So let me give you one example. This is again a screenshot of one of the articles published in Scopus Index Journal. And here you can see that this research scholar has written the objective in the form of asking question. Now let me read you this sentence. The research scholar is writing here, the questions that were tried to be found answer were as follows. So here you have another option for writing the objective of your research paper is you can ask certain questions before writing your research paper. You can tell your reader that these are the questions which I am going to address in my research paper. So it will always give, some sort of interest among the readers to read your research paper. So you should write clear-cut objectives and hypotheses of your research paper so that it will tell reader that in which area basically you are planning to focus or in which area basically you are emphasizing your research paper. Now the next thing is writing the literature review. As I mentioned earlier, that there are many databases which will help you in terms of identifying the research paper published in your research area. Now the question is, when you search literature on your research area and you are using such databases, you will find hundreds of articles. Now the question is which articles we should incorporate while writing the literature review and which articles we have to exclude. Now the thing is, always be selective. So whatever research paper you wanted to incorporate in your literature review part, always see whether those paper is addressing the research problem which you have taken in your research paper. So you always select only those paper which are directly related to your research objectives. And if in your literature review part, if you are using any quotations, always give a proper citation at the end of your paper so that it should be backed up by the citation. And what is the best way of writing review of any literature is you just try to incorporate the objectives of that paper, methodology the research scholar has adopted, what are the key findings and the conclusion of your paper. So for example, if you wanted to write a literature review of my paper, you first download the paper, just go through with all full text paper, uh, which is available in various open access platform. And instead of, writing a 2 or 3 paragraph for your literature review, you just try to write the objectives, methodology, findings, and conclusion of your paper. And one more thing, let me tell you one thing, that before submitting our research paper in any quality journals, we have to check the similarity of plagiarism of our paper. And as far as my knowledge and experience is concerned, the maximum part of your research paper which is showing high level of similarity is your introduction and your literature review part. So as I mentioned earlier, if you're writing your introduction in a brief manner, and if you are writing objectives and hypotheses, you can avoid plagiarism in your introduction part. And if you wanted to avoid plagiarism while writing your research review or literature review, you always try to do the paraphrasing. Now the question is, what is basically a paraphrasing? Paraphrasing is nothing but rewriting the articles in your own words. So instead of taking, something as it is from the already published sources, if you are paraphrasing the text and if you are giving proper citation to the original article, you can always avoid the plagiarism in your research paper. And once you are done with writing the literature review, you can arrange your literature reviews either chronologically or conceptual categories. For example, you can divide your topic into various subtopics, and under various subtopics, you can arrange the literature review which you have written in your research paper. Now, talking about the research methodology part, let me tell you, this is one of the most important part of writing your research paper. And this is the part through which, generally reviewer, they accept your paper or reject your paper. Now, the question is, what is basically a research methodology? So research methodology is basically explaining how you studied the problem, how you identified the procedure you followed, and structure this information as logically as possible. Now, let me tell you with one example. Now, many of young library science professionals, they are writing research paper on scientometrics. And when you analyze the research methodology of scientometric paper, you will find that more or less methodology remain the same. But the thing is, why there is a need to write a clear-cut methodology in your research paper so that it will tell reader what methodology, what sample, what databases, what software, what statistical tool you have applied while analyzing your report or while verifying your report. And let me tell you one more thing. If you are writing research methodology in a clear-cut manner and you are very much expressive in writing research methodology, then you will give a chance to young research scholars so that they can adopt the same research methodology and they can write research paper in another area. For example, if you are doing scientometric study in the field of stem cell, and if your research methodology is clear-cut written, then the same methodology, another research scholar, they can follow and they can select any other research area while doing a similar kind of study. So I always recommend, I always suggest research scholar that your research methodologies should be very much expressive and clear-cut. And in the sciences, this is known as methods and materials, means you have to tell the readers what methods and materials you have applied while conducting your research. So this is another example. You can see this is the way of writing methodology, and this is, example how this research scholar has written materials and methods part. Now, once you are done with research methodology part, the next part of your research paper is analyzing your data. This sometimes we call as a result section. So this is a very important section of your research paper where you present your finding objectively, explaining them largely in text. So here you show how your result contribute to the body of scientific knowledge and so be clear and logical. And if you have any significant finding in your research, you can emphasize while writing this result part. So instead of just interpreting the data which you have given in table, if you are writing the result part in a logical way, or you are adding, some value to your result, that will always give some advantage of acceptance of your paper. Generally, the young researcher, what they do, whatever data they have tabulated in the result section, they just interpret the data. But here there is no need to, writing that 3% of respondent has given acceptance, 5% of respondent has given, rejection. Instead of, just writing the data which you have already given in a tabular form, if you are adding some value, if you are, logically explaining the result part, that will always give, advantage for accepting your paper. And the last part of your research paper is discussion and conclusion. So here you discuss some of the issues which you have identified in your objective, and you also try to correlate whatever finding of your research you are writing, how it is correlated with the existing literature. So in the discussion and conclusion part, if you are correlating your findings with the literature review portion, that will always give reader that what existing literature is saying on your topic and what your research finding is saying. So in the discussion and conclusion part, always try to correlate your findings with your objectives and hypotheses and the articles which you have incorporated in your literature part. So if you are doing so in the discussion and conclusion part, that will, give a very good impression for the reviewer for checking your paper. Now, generally, let me tell you one thing. The practice is, first we write the topic and the abstract, and then we start writing the full paper. But my experience says you first write the first draft of your paper and then frame the good title and abstract, because your title and abstract is the first part which general editor see or which any user see. So you should be very much careful while writing the title of your paper and the abstract of your paper. Let me tell you, the title and abstract are incredibly important component of a manuscript, as they are the first element a journal editor see. Even when we conduct a literature search, so based on the title and abstract, we judge the article, which article we want to incorporate in our literature review part. Generally, instead of reading the full paper, we select the article based on the title and the abstract. So same thing you can apply with your research paper is, once you have done with writing the first draft, then you frame the title and the abstract. So the title should summarize the main theme of the article and reflect your contribution to the theory. And one more thing, do not use abbreviation in your title. For example, if you're writing your research paper on RFID, don't try to write use of RFID in libraries. Always write reuse of radio frequency technology in the field of library science, because sometimes the reader, they are not familiar with the abbreviation which you have used in the title. So always use full form of the topic you wanted to write research paper. Now, talking about how scientifically you can write the abstract of your paper. Now, this is my personal experience. Let me tell you, if you have published your research paper with Emerald Journal, they have a very scientific way, a very systematic way of accepting the abstract in their standard format. So from this slide, you can see is, if you wanted to publish paper with any Emerald Library Science journal, in the abstract portion, first you have to write what is the main purpose of writing your research. So the same thing you can apply in all your papers, whether to publish with Emerald, Elsevier, or any publishers, because this I personally feel is a very good and scientific way of writing the abstract. So first, write what is your main purpose of your writing research paper. What is the design or methodology? Means what methodology you have adopted for conducting your study. What are the significant findings of your research paper? And if there are any research limitation or implication of your research, you can always highlight in your research paper. And if is there any practical implication of your research paper? For example, now most of the science in the field of medical sciences, they are on the COVID-19 medicine. So why they are conducting this study? Because they wanted to have a practical implication in the social life. So similarly, if you're writing any research paper which has some sort of practical implications, then you always highlight, and if there is any social implications which you can write. And the last and very much important thing, what is the USP of your research paper? USP is a term of marketing, means what is the unique selling point. So you can say, you can write here that whatever literature is available on topic, how your research paper is different from the others. So if you are writing your abstract in such a way, let me make you assured that you will always have a better chances of acceptance of your paper. Now, so this is all about writing your research paper. Now, the next and very much important thing is how to find a right journal for your research paper. Now, let me tell you, now many publishers, they have designed artificial intelligence based system which tells reader that in which journal the chances of acceptance of your paper is higher. Now let me give you some example. Now if you wanted to publish your research paper with any library science journal of Elsevier publisher, what you can do is you simply go to the Elsevier website or simply type Elsevier Google Finder into the Google, and it will take you to the home page. And here you can see this is the screenshot of Elsevier Journal Finder. And what you have to do is you just copy and paste the title of your research paper, abstract of your research paper. You just write significant keywords and field of your research, means social sciences, pure science, applied sciences, engineering, the area of your research, and based on the title and abstract and the field of your study, it will recommend the journals for possible publication of your research manuscript. And it will not give you the list of the journals in where you can publish your paper. It will also give you the chances of acceptance rate, how much time it will take to the first decision, and how much time it will take to publish your research articles. In this way, you will be clear that if you want to publish your research paper with this Journal of Mathematics, it is going to take almost 7 weeks to publish your paper. And here you can see the acceptance rate is 80%. So do not try to submit your paper in this journal because it is showing lower acceptance rate as compared to Journal of Academic Librarianship, where it is having 26% acceptance rate. Similar platform is being developed by many reputed publishers. Like for example, Wiley Journal Finder, it will also give you some sort of hint in which you can publish your research paper. Springer, now any research scholar, if they wanted to publish their research paper in any Springer journals, so you can, take the help of as Springer Journal Suggester, and it will give you a sort of recommendation of the journals which will suit or which is, best suited for publishing your research paper. Now, these platforms are publisher specific. Like if I am interested in publishing my research paper in Elsevier, then I have to use this Elsevier Journal Finder. If I am interested in publishing my research paper in Wiley, then I have to go to Wiley Journal Finder. But you just wanted to know what are the good journals which are available in your subject area where you can publish your research paper. Let me tell you, this is one of the best journal finder you can always use for selecting the journal, and this journal has been mostly used worldwide by the research scholar. It is called Edange. You simply type Edange and it will take you this Edange journal selector. You simply copy the title and abstract and it will give you the list of possible journals where you can publish your research paper, and it will also give you all the details about the journal paper, whether it is Scopus index or SCI index, and what is the impact factor of this journal, what is the cumulative impact factor. So all the details you will find of course using this platform. Another tool you can use is EndNote Mag, and EndNote Mag similar platform which tells readers about the finding the right journal for your research paper. Now, there is another study which is conducted by Elsevier. It says that 30 to 50% of articles submitted to Elsevier journals are rejected before even they reach to the peer review stage. And one of the top reason is poor language. And we have to acknowledge this thing also, that whenever you submit research paper from any developing country, these publishers, they have something in their mind that or other, research scholars who belongs to underdeveloping countries, they have not sound knowledge or they don't have a command of over English language. Apart from this, one of the most prominent reason for rejecting your research paper is we do not follow the template or style which is recommended by the publisher when you submit your paper for any journal. For example, you have written your research paper, you have identified some journals, and now you wanted to publish IEEE journals. So if you will submit your normal Word file to the editor of that particular, straight away you will receive the rejection, because they will say that your paper is not as per the template or style which we have always recommend research scholar. So what you can do is, if you have selected the journals, you visit the journal homepage and select which style, or is there any template, or is there any latex model they have uploaded on their website. So for example, if you wanted to publish your research paper, then the IEEE journal, then you can see that you have to write titles in some other font, then you have to write the first name of author, then your abstract, and your paper will be 2-column, a page where you have to write first abstract, then the introduction, and these are some of the guidelines for writing the introduction. So you have to arrange your research paper according to this this paper style. So once you are done with this paper style, now the question is how we can check this grammatical or spelling mistakes or some grammatical mistake on our paper. Now these are some of the tools, but I'm not going to tell you these are the 100% accurate tool which you can rely upon. But let me tell you one more thing. These are the tools which is basically used by research scholars all over the world for improving the quality of the language which they have written in their manuscript. Grammarly is the software. It's a commercial software, but you can use the demo version also. But apart from Grammarly, Hemingway editor is, I think, one of the best tools if you wanted to check the grammatical mistake of your paper. So these are the top 5 tools which has been selected by the researchers across the world as far as improving the quality of your research paper is concerned. Like Hemingway editor, Grammarly, after the deadline, you just copy the paragraph, paste it here, and it will suggest you, some improvement as far as mistakes are concerned. Now, one more thing, before submitting your research paper to any journal, you check the similarity of your research paper. And to do this, you always follow the citation style recommended by that publisher. You have to check whether they are following APA, Chicago, or any other citation style, because there are almost thousands of citation styles are available. And some of the journals, they have created their own citation style as far as arranging references are concerned. So you always check whether you have arranged all the references in that particular citation style or not. And let me tell you one more thing, that there is a misconception among the research scholar that if we are taking any text, in this case only we need to cite that particular source. But let me tell you, if you are taking any photographs, any diagrams, pictures, graph, and maps, in this case also you have to give credit to the actual source from where you have taken these documents, and to know how to paraphrase while paraphrasing you are re-engineering, because if you know how to paraphrase correctly, then you can rewrite the already published article in your own words, and there is no harm if you are paraphrasing, because the condition is you have to give a proper credit to the original source for from where you have paraphrased your paragraph or sentences. And if you are taking something as it is, for example, if you are taking definition, if you are taking some findings as it is for the already published source, in this case, always write that particular sentence in a quotation mark as the complete citation of your paper. And then you have to also acknowledge, like if you are getting fund from DST or any other funding agency, and based on this project you are publishing your research paper, so you have to give the name of funder or supplier in the acknowledgement part. If you are doing so, you can always avoid the plagiarism of your research paper. Now, adding research data, let me tell you one thing. There are many cases of data falsification and data fabrication. There, what researchers they are doing, they are copying the research data and they are analyzing in their own way. So now many of the publishers, when you submit your research paper, they ask you to submit the raw Excel file which you have used before calculating your research data. So for example, if you are doing PhD and based on the PhD work you are publishing research paper, so the publisher, they can ask you the Excel file where you have recorded all the responses which you have collected through questionnaire. So now I think in the coming year that will be going to be a practice from the topmost publisher, where along with your research manuscript you have to submit raw data. And now Scopus and Web of Science and many citation databases, they are also making a provision for providing citation to research data. For example, if you have published your research paper and the raw data, if you are uploading in any data repository, and if any research scholar is referring to your research data, then you will receive a data citation for your research paper also. So you must be very much clear about what is research data, and this research data is a very important aspect to validate your research, to cross-check your research which you have reported in your research paper. Now, one more thing, never underestimate the importance of cover letter before submitting your research paper to any editor. Now let me give you one example. The paper which I have shown you in my third book, which I have recently published. Let me give you one example. When I submitted that paper to American Library Association, within 2 days, I got a rejection from the editor. And he said that your paper does not fit to aims and objectives of our paper. That is why I am rejecting your paper. Then what I did is I have written a beautiful cover note where I have highlighted why my research paper is best suited to their journals. And once I resubmitted my research paper along with cover note, let me tell you, within a week, I apologized for their quick response, and they said that we have sent your research paper for peer review process, and provisionally we have accepted your research paper. Now, let me share with you, when you submit your research paper to any journal, your paper, if it is approved by the editor, it has to follow the peer review process. And as I mentioned earlier, being an editor of topmost journal, what are the criteria which we follow for the research paper? And let me tell you, there are different type of peer review. Single blind peer review, where the name of reviewer are hidden from the author. If any journal is writing double blind peer review, what does it mean? It means that both reviewer and author, they are anonymous to each other. Means the reviewer, they don't have any idea whatever paper they are reviewing, who is the author, and even the author, they are not knowing who is the reviewer. Because if it is, if you know to whom you have, your paper is sent for the review, you can always contact that reviewer. So in this case, some biasness will be there, and your paper will not be judged by the quality. Your paper will be judged by the link or network which you are having in your professional community. So if any journal is writing double-blind peer review, in this case, generally they don't disclose the name of reviewer to the author, and author they don't know the name of the reviewer. Open, both reviewer and author are known to each other. And let me tell you, now there is 100% fact that in the coming year, the editor of the journal, if they are accepting any paper and they are following the double review process, they have to publish the comment of reviewer also, so that it can clearly tells reader paper is really gone for peer reviews, and these are the comments from the reviewers on which it is basically accepted. So once this practice into the practice, let me tell you that will always improve the quality of the research paper which we submit for peer review process. Now, on basically there are 5-point scale on which article is. First thing is originality. So first thing, editor reviewer see whether your paper is showing any originality, your research work. If you have properly written the literature review, and whether you have selected a quality articles in your literature review part. Have you explained the methodology clear cut? Is the results they are presented? The discussion part is showing relationship of your result finding with the objectives and hypothesis and with the already published material, and is there any implication for research practically or socially, and what is the quality of communication, means what is the language, or is there any grammatical mistakes on. And let me tell you, this is basically a common 5 or 6 point scale for mostly publishers they are follow for evaluating any research paper in their journals. So if you are keeping these things in your mind while writing the research paper, let me tell you, it will always give an upper advantage or upper edge where you can publish your research paper in a quality journals. And based on these parameters, generally reviewers, they accept your paper, they suggest minor revision, they suggest major revision, or they basically reject your paper. Right. So one more thing is, when we receive the comments from the reviewer, you, I think, 10 times read the comment from the reviewer, what basically he is expecting from you. Now, let me share with my personal experience the recent paper which I have quoted earlier. In my paper, I have written that NFC device is capable of supporting 848 kilowatts. So for this only, I received 2 comments from the reviewer. Now, what they are asking from me, they are asking, is there any evidence is available where it is already reported by some other research scholar that it support 848 kilowatts, or in your research is there any findings where it is showing that it is supporting 848 kilowatts? Likewise, you have to read the comment carefully, and you have to reply, you have to modify or change your paper accordingly. So if you are carefully reading the comments from the editors, from the reviewers, and you are incorporating the changes, it will always help in publishing your research paper timely in that particular journal. Otherwise, it got, sometimes it got delayed because you are not reading the comments from the reviewer carefully. Now, once you publish your research work, the next and very much important is you have to promote and share research work. As I mentioned earlier, you will receive a maximum citation if your paper is visible to the public. So these are the things which you have to keep in mind while sharing your research paper. And let me tell you one more thing. Once you publish your research paper with any publisher, you sign a copyright agreement with the publisher. And without taking prior permission from the publisher, you can't upload your paper in any open access platform. Even I have seen there are many research scholars, as soon as they publish their research paper,
they upload on the ResearchGate without checking the copyright policy of that particular publisher. So for this, there is a one website which is called Sherpa and Romeo. It will tell you what type of copyright privilege, what type of right publisher has given you as far as making your research paper in an open access platform. For example, if you have published your article in Nature, Nature does not allow you to make your research paper in an open access platform of post-print version. It only gives you the right way you can make your research paper in open access platform of your pre-print version. Now again, there is a difference of pre-print and post-print. Now, so likewise, you can check the copyright policy of different publisher before promoting or before uploading your research paper in any academic professional networking website. So once you are done with checking this copyright policy, you can index your research paper on a ResearchGate, Academia, or Google Scholar. There are many platforms are available. Now, what is the idea of uploading your research paper in this platform? Because you will increase the visibility of your research paper. And let me tell you, to measure the impact of your scientific research, there are basically 4 level metrics are available. One is journal metrics, one is author metrics, one is article metrics, and another is alt metrics. So if you have a knowledge about these metrics, you can always check the impact of your research paper. And let me tell you, H-index is one of the most common metric through which any author research paper is evaluated, right? So you can check the H-index in Scopus or Google Scholar, and Microsoft Academic is also indexing research paper of different authors. And this is also a website from where you can check the H-index free of cost. I10 index is a tool which is developed by Google Scholar. And I think being a library science professional, we all know what is basically H-index, what is I10 index. And there is another index which is called G-index because there are some limitations with the H-index. So to overcome these limitations, the H-index has been evaluated. So in this way, you can see, what is basically impact of your research paper. And there is another concept. It's called alt metrics, which let you know how much impact your research is presenting on social media. Means how many of my known has tweeted my paper, how many from my known circle has shared my research paper on Facebook, how much has given reference in the Mendeley software. So this concept of alt metric is basically to measure the impact of your research paper on social media. So how you can check the alt metrics of your paper, there is one website, it's called Dimension. So if you just wanted to check how much your colleague or friends have tweeted your paper or they have shared your paper on Facebook or any social networking website, you search your paper either title or author wise, it will give you the this altmetric numbers which can help you in terms of checking the impact of your research paper on social media. So here you can see if any paper is showing 83, that means it will tell you in detail how much has tweeted your paper, how much has posted your paper on blog, how much has uploaded your paper on a Facebook page, how much has readed your paper on Mendeley. So these are the tools which helps you in terms of checking the impact of your research paper in social media. So this is all about my presentation. So if you have any question or if you wanted to ask me anything related to my query, I think you have already typed in the chat box. I will ask the moderator to take few questions so that I can answer these queries. So thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, sir. Words are less to express our gratitude towards your dedication to the profession. It was wonderful, excellent presentation with examples and steps. And I hope everyone will now like to write an article in the quality journals after getting the relevant information from your presentations. Sir, can I ask 2 questions from the chat box?
Yes, sure, please.
There are so many questions, and I think time will permit us. First question from Surinder Singh ji. Difference between research paper and research article.
Okay, I think there are different terminology which generally we use. You know, even in a research paper, there are many types, whether you are presenting, where you are writing a case study, where your research is empirical study, where your research is based on theoretical concept. So telling research paper or research article, I think is the same thing, but here the terminology is different.
Thank you, sir. And second question from Mr. O.P. Sanity. How to avoid duplication in result and discussion? And his another question is, does hypothesis essential?
Yeah. I
How
think
to avoid duplication in result and discussion?
how to avoid result and duplication. Now, generally in a result part is whatever data we have collected while conducting our research, we generally present the data in our result section. But if you are writing discussion part, here there is no need to, copy the sentence or the paragraph which you have already written in the result section. Here what you can do is whatever objectives or whatever already existing data is saying, you can just correlate your findings with this. So if you are doing this, you can always avoid the result portion with your discussion portion, because as I mentioned in my slide also, there is a difference when you're writing result portion and when you're writing discussion and conclusion. So if you are doing so, you can definitely avoid duplication of the data which you have written in your research paper.
And he also wants to know, does hypothesis essential?
No, I think it's depend upon your research, which type of research you are doing. And if you feel that you wanted to support your objectives with your hypothesis, and for proving the hypothesis, you have to, apply some statistical tool, because you can't simply say that based on this calculation, you are proving or disproving the hypothesis. So if you are applying any test, if you are using any statistical software, in this case, you can always take hypothesis. Otherwise, you can avoid hypothesis while writing your research paper.
Ji, sir. Next question is from Simranpreet Kaur. How paraphrasing tools can be used?
Yes. Now there are many paraphrasing tools are available, but let me tell you, these tools are helpful, but you can't rely 100% on these tools, because these tools are based on some sophisticated algorithm. So sometimes when you use these tools, sometimes they change the meaning of what you wanted to, write in your research paper. So you can use these tools, but always double check whether it is not changing the meaning of your research paper.
She also wants to know any tools for creating sentences with same meaning. Any tools for creating sentences with same meaning?
Any tools, I think there are only some paraphrasing tools are available, and I'm not exactly getting what you are trying to ask is, if you can further clarify what she's basically looking.
She has written any tools for creating sentences with same meaning. And she wants to know that if one sentence is there, then is there any tool to create a sentence with the same meaning?
I think for this is what we call as paraphrasing, when we write the same thing in our different ways. So if you know how to write the same thing in a paraphrased manner, and if you know some of the tools, you can always use such tools for writing, the same thing in a different way.
Yes, sir. And Dr. Indra wants to know how many objectives used in one research paper.
I think there is no, uniform guidelines are available, but general practice is that if you are writing four or five objectives, and if you are focusing only on these objectives, it will always give reader to, sort of some interest while reading your research paper. Because if you are taking too much objectives, you will deviate from your objectives, and from reader's point of view, they will lose the interest while reading your research paper.
She also wants to know about hypothesis from your point of view. More explanation for the hypothesis part.
No, generally, if you see what is basically hypothesis is our assumption. Like based on our objectives, generally certain things we assume that there is no benefit if we use RFID, or we can assume that RFID is a costly affair if we implement in the libraries. So if you are framing the hypothesis and if you are designed your questionnaire or designed your methodology in which you are collecting the data related to your hypothesis. So in this hypothesis part, you can always prove or disprove that before writing your research paper, my assumption was that it is a costly affair. But when I conducted my study, I just came to know that still monetary is a costly affair. But when you check the return on investment according to the satisfaction of users level, it is worth going for the RFID. So hypothesis is merely your assumption on which you basically prove or disprove while collecting the data from the respondent.
Thank you, sir. And if we read any article and write in our own words in literature review, but why we plagiarize the words like the, are, is?
I think many softwares there is a provision where you can exclude these some portion before checking the similarity. Let me tell you, as per the UGC guidelines, you can exclude up to 14 words while checking the similarity. So you don't care, don't bother about whether it is taking is, are, or MR. You apply these filters before checking the similarity, and the software will take care about these things.
Rightly said, sir.
I think, ma'am, there are so many questions, but I may request you. It is a lunch time has been started, and people are waiting for lunch. So I think you may conclude.
I'm sorry for not taking more questions, and definitely they will be answered through email or phone call. And it was a really wonderful presentation. And to add for the information of the readers, and sir's article is also indexed in the Web of Science tool in addition to the Scopus tool. So now I give mic to the Mr. Lake Chand, General Secretary of the LPA, to say formal vote of thanks to our eminent speaker. Thank you, sir. And now over to Dr. Selekchand.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So nice of you, ma'am. Before proposing a vote of thanks, just I may request our eminent emeritus professor Lakshman Rao, sir. He is waiting since long back, and I may request him if he is online line. Professor Lakshman Rao. Professor Rao. Professor Rao, just you tell me, are you hearing me or not?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, please speak. Your feedback. We need your feedback, sir. It was a wonderful lecture, and just you give your comments, remarks, feedback, suggestions, if you have. Please, sir.
Unmute.
No, it now.
Sir, I unmute from my side.
Please.
Yes, sir. Your audio video is unmuted from my side. You have to unmute yourself.
Okay. Hello. Can you hear me, please?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Fine, sir.
Yeah. Please, go ahead, sir.
First of all, let me congratulate Dr. Neeraj. He did a good job. But I just wanted to say, people have to understand.
First you close your window. Curtains.
Oh,
First you close your curtains behind you.
oh, so 1 minute. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think it's okay.
Yes, sir. Now it is okay. Just you go
Right.
ahead, sir, please.
Yeah. Good afternoon to everybody. I congratulate Dr. Neeraj for a wonderful presentation. I just wanted to say a few things. There is a difference between writing an article and writing thesis. And before that, we should also understand the terminology, right? And first of all, let me take an example. Today, what we are writing on a literature survey, we are writing something like a 50, 30, 60, 100 quotation or citations or whatever references, whatever you may say, each one paragraph. But there is no link between what we are writing of these 50 references or 50 literature that we have studied. Actually, it should be like a funnel where you start from a broad, go to the narrow, and the basic purpose is basic purpose is to identify the gaps in the literature, right? And that will help us to identify the topic. Then second is the literature survey also helps us to identify what are the different processes, different inputs, different methods that have been adopted to do the research. So basically, most of our people write literature survey is trash. I'm sorry to say this because of my experience. I would like to say. And then another one, the most important is language. One has to take care of language. If necessary, you must show to a language expert. But there is a case where language expert also writes, but he will be missing the context. So therefore, we have to be cautious when a language expert looks into, because when we are publishing, it is going to the international level. Then another important thing, when you write the thesis, there is no size limitation. But when you write the article, there is a limitation of the size. Then also, when we talk about writing the article, we should also, as Dr. Neeraj said, a lot of things. We have to also look into clarity is more important. What we want to write and what we would like to, and what we would like to say, and how we are going to say. These are very important items. So therefore, before writing an article, you must carefully plan what we want to do, why we want to do. These are the Ranganathan's word, what, why, how. These are the key points before we start doing any work. Then at the same time, I would like to generally say, the context is, initially we write objectives and hypotheses. I have seen most of the cases, there is no relationship between hypothesis and objectives. And naturally, in publishing the paper, they don't accept unless there is a research, unless there is a relationship. In thesis, most of the candidates are writing, objectives are different and hypothesis is different. I would like to say that you identify the objectives initially, write the article, and go to the end. When you identify the conclusion or discussion, whatever it is, based on that, you come back and modify the objectives, because there must be a relationship between the objectives and the conclusion. And another important thing that we generally find is we go on writing something, and then we end up somewhere without any target or goal. So I would like to generally suggest is, whenever you write an article or thesis, initially you prepare the content page, like chapter, sub-chapter, sub-sub-chapter, sub-sub-chapter. Then you go on filling in those sub-sub-chapters, so that you will be able to restrict where what you have to say, you will say. Otherwise, I have seen many cases, they go on writing endless, and they write, in some places, write more and more data. So you have to be careful. I would like to suggest a new author to consult like Dr. Neeraj before you move forward. Initially, when you write, even identifying the theme, also identifying the topic also, generally it should be based on the work that you have done. It may be library work in the case of humanities and social sciences, we may not have a lab, but ultimately it depends upon what we are doing and what activity we are doing, and there must be what we call authenticity. Then if we are not able to publish in time, or it takes time, you can also put into preprints, so that at least you will have a say that it is written by you. And Dr. Neeraj was also talking about review, double blind, this blind. They also have seen the reviewer writes to you, what is this? This is clarify, and we want full form. Where is the reference? These are the things they ask. So when we write an article, in the thesis, nobody will ask because it is you are the master. In paper, you have to be ready with all such a data. And it's not difficult in the context of the publication today to publish an article in Elsevier or somewhere a standard journal. They look into their own procedure, like citation. They want in a specific manner. But if you want to pay some money, like in India, and I'm sure you know, India has a maximum predatory journal. That is what the report says. Earlier, there was a report, more than 900 journals were found predatory. And I'm also, you must know, OMCIS from Hyderabad, they published 3,000 predatory publications, and they have been penalized with $50 million in US. So looking into this, what I just wanted to say is, if you are going to publish in a good journal, you must be cautious, as Dr. Neeraj said. A lot of things he has said, and we have to take into all these things into consideration. Then only your article will be able to get acceptance. And you must be also, especially if we are talking about the plagiarism. I know the plagiarism is a big point. Wherever you find some problem, I think use your own language. That will save you instead of paraphrasing or copying, etc. So you must be ready, because there are a lot of things that are written in Telugu, Marathi, Hindi. These things are not the part of the plagiarism software, because Indian documents, most of the Indian documents are not part of the plagiarism software. So therefore you may escape also. What I just wanted to say is, you need to really work hard for 6 months. I'm telling you, 6 months, if you want to publish in a good journal. And that is how you start on writing, revising, rewriting into language, and also looking into the data that you are putting in, and the authenticity of the data from where you have quoted. All these things are very important. And if you want to publish in an Indian journal, you give 3,000 rupees and he will publish. Even they are ready to write on behalf of you and publish. So therefore, I wanted to suggest the young people that you just don't start writing and publishing, which is, it's not that easy to publish in a good journal, because we are using a word impact. When you want to publish in a good impact factor journal, you must really struggle. And that is how I would like to say that work hard. And once you are streamlined, once you are habituated, second time you'll be able to do. And there are like journal library trends. They don't accept your article, only they invite the articles. And they don't accept if you want to publish, they don't accept. They invite the article, then only they will publish. And I published one article in Library Trends, you know, one of the top journals in 1996. Trust me, 30 to 40 times they asked me clarifications. And they gave me the notice almost 10 months before, asking me to write the article on such and such topic. So therefore, things are changing, and we must be ready to face the conditions that are being put by the publishers. Then also, I'm sure you know PubPeer, where after the publication also somebody is ready to check your plagiarism. So the things, you know, technology is able to give us a lot of facilities, like, you know, automated indexing, right? Automated plagiarism check, automated say searching. A lot of things are there. So you must be careful. Those days have gone where you can write anything and nobody was able to find out. So that's how I think this is a good topic. I congratulate the organization and especially Dr. Salek, who is doing good work. And I also congratulate Dr. Neeraj for doing a lot of hard work and publishing and presenting this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Lakshman Rao, for nice suggestions and for feedback. Thank you very much, sir. Now, first of all, I would like to express my sincere thanks to Dr. Neeraj, who really given a nice presentation and explain everything related to the right paper and what should be the title, what should be the text, and how to write suggestions and comments, conclusions like that all, and how which one would be the journals of the best for publishing articles. And this is the really this was the nice presentation and excellent presentation. I really congratulate and thanks to Dr. Neeraj sir. Thank you very much. And at the last, I would like to thanks from my heart to all my beloved participants for joining this webinar. Thanks to all, and thanks to my team, LPA team, and Lalita ma'am, President sir, Anand sir, and Dr. Neeraj sir. Thank you very much. So nice of you. Thank you very much. Anandji, please close it.